do when somebody ghosts you? Have you ever wondered why you can't stop thinking about this person and trying to figure out what went wrong, especially early on in dating when you barely even know the person? You're not crazy. There's a science behind it, and I've got all the answers for you. Welcome to the She Drives Me Crazy podcast. I'm your host, Alabama, where we talk love, life, dating, and everything in between. And let's get into how to get over being ghosted. I'm going to tell you a story, and the story is not out of anger or bitterness, but this just happened to me. I got ghosted by a guy that I met on Facebook dating. We met on Facebook dating. He said early on, the first day we matched, that he was going to Bali in 2 weeks. So we decided that we would meet before he left for this work trip because he was going to be out of town for about 5 weeks. So we met. We went on a date. It was a great date. We went to a farmer's market. We had peach ice cream, peaches, all the things. And then we decided to go on another date. So we went on a second date that was to a very expensive restaurant in town. I remember now he told me on the date that it was a big deal that he brought me to this restaurant because he normally doesn't bring dates here. And I still was unsure by the second date where this was going. I liked him, but I was kind of standoffish. And then we spoke every day in between this on the phone. And then we decided to go on a third date. And the third date was to our local gardens where I live, and we walked around, and it was a really great date. We had lunch, we looked at flowers, we talked about plants. And so I started becoming very interested in this guy. And at this point, it was just a few days before he would be flying out of town to Bali. And in between all of these dates, we were still speaking every day, texting every day. He was texting me good morning, texting me good night. We were having what I felt like were deep conversations that were going somewhere. So at this point now, I am in it. I am in it to win it. And the day that he leaves, he had a night flight. So we met up that morning. We had lunch. We hugged goodbye and did all the things. And so when he's flying to Bali across the world, he is sending me videos from the plane saying, I miss you already. I am waiting for when we get to come back here. We'll come back to Bali because Bali was one of my dream places to visit. Like I had already said to him, oh my God, that's a dream place. And we joked about me traveling with him on that trip. And I was like, not yet. We'll wait and see what we're doing because I was trying to take things at a slower pace. So also on our second date, after our second date, he had told me that he deleted Facebook dating because he knew what he wanted and I was who he wanted to put his energy into. And that was our second date. So I said, no, you don't have to do that. I still, don't know what I want. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to take things slow and be careful. You don't have to delete your dating profile yet. And his response was, I'm not forcing you to commit to me right now. I'm just telling you where my head is at. We'll go at the pace that you want to go. We'll take our time. This is fine. So I felt relieved after that, and we were good. Well, fast forward, he gets to Bali, and the first few weeks that he's there, it's still great. I had dental work. He sent me my favorite flowers from across the world. I thought that was incredibly sweet. He had already brought me gifts before he left. When we met up on one of our dates, he brought peaches from the farmer's market that we met up on our first date. He was incredibly thoughtful and kind. And I was not used to that in the beginning. So I love that. He sent the flowers, did all the things. Well, then it's about 2.5 weeks into Bali, and this is a work trip, and he hosted a webinar and he sent me the link to join. But I had started to notice already that our texts were kind of getting a little shorter and a little more distant. And the phone call we had had a few days before that, he started talking about wanting to move to Bali. And at that point, we really didn't know what we were doing. So I kind of just said, well, okay. And he said, if I could do it right now, I would just tell you to move here and we'll just figure it out. And I said, well, we could have a conversation about that once we figure out what we're doing. Cause me panicking, I have a radio show, my rescue dog's a whole life here in Alabama. And oh my God, this guy I barely know is talking about moving to Bali and how do I uproot my whole life? Anyway, I noticed after that conversation, our text got kind of short. Then he sends me the link to this webinar that he's hosting. I'm watching it. I'm taking notes. I'm still sitting here thinking, we're going to figure this out when he gets back. We're going to be teammates. I'm going to help him grow his business. So I'm like taking notes on this webinar of learning about what he does and trying to figure out ways I can help him. And he gets done. And I say, you did great. And he goes, thanks. And that was it. Nothing else. Nothing else. And I remember in that moment being pissed because I was like, I just sat and watched 2.5 hours of this guy do what he's doing, and all I get is a thanks and a nothing. And the conversation's already dwindling down. So at this point, I'm still on Facebook dating, and I tell him that, and I'm like, the next day, I'm like, maybe I just need to really put all my focus into this and make sure that my head's in the right place so that he sees my head's in the right place, and we're good. So I open Facebook dating and I go to, what's the word? Pause dating or stop date, whatever, wherever you like make it where you're not matching anymore. And I open it. He's the first freaking profile that's right there. And so immediately I'm like, oh God. And I look through the profile and it's updated. It's not even the same profile that I matched with. Now he's got shirtless selfies on there and thirst traps, and it's totally different. So not only did he lie to me and say that he deactivated his dating account, all he did was unmatch me and update it with thirst traps. So I'm like, oh, here we go. So in the moment, I sent him a text. Now, mind you, Bali is 13 hours ahead of us. So for me, it's like 1 o'clock in the middle of the day. For him, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. So he wakes up to this text, and the text was along the lines of, hey, I'm not mad that you have a dating profile. I'm not your girlfriend, but I'm disappointed because I feel like what you told me was not what you did. And I don't think you really, if you want to date other people, that's fine. But I thought we were building a connection here and getting deeper. And I know I panicked at first when I said, don't delete your dating profile, but now I'm all in. And so I don't really know what to think. So I'm going to give you your space. Enjoy your trip in Bali. And if you want to have a conversation about where we're going in the future, I would love that. So I get this message from him that's like, well, this isn't what I wanted to wake up to. If you want to have I started to leave a long voice note, but realized this is a conversation we should have in real time, not through text or voice notes. So if you want to have a conversation, let me know. And so I responded with, I've got my phone on, call me. And nothing. So then I sent another message that was like, hey, I'm kind of at the mercy of your time zone because you're the one that's working, doing this work trip, and I don't know what's going on in your world. Nothing. So he disappears. Don't hear from him for the last 2.5 weeks that he's in Bali. There were like 2 other times while he's gone that I said, hey, by the way, I miss you. And then I sent another note that was like, hey, I've been thinking about you. I really hope I hear from you soon, and I hope you're having a great time in Bali. Nothing. So at this point, the day comes that he's flying back, and I think that I'm going to hear from him when he's flying back. And I have his itinerary because at this point we've been talking about a future. We've been talking about going to Bali together. He gave me his itinerary for when he traveled. So I know the flights and I know the times when he's traveling. So I watch the flight tracker. I'm watching the plane go for 2 days. I'm watching his itinerary, hoping that he made it back safe. And then in my mind, I had built this whole scenario of maybe he realized that he really does like me and he's the one and he's got my address and he's going to show up, because we had planned for him to come spend the night when he landed that night anyway. Nothing. So I texted him the next day and I was like, hey, I'm just trying to have a conversation. I don't know if you're ghosting me or sticking your head in the sand, because we had also had conversations of having bad relationships and being afraid and sticking our head in the sand. So I was like, I'm just trying to figure out how to move forward. He read it, never said anything. So a week goes by and I start creeping his social media because I'm like, I want answers. What is going on? And he posts a freaking photo of him holding hands still in Bali with another girl drinking out of coconuts on the beach. And I'm like, oh shit, there was another girl the whole time. So I don't know the story. It looks like he never flew back, or he didn't fly back then. I don't know if he extended his trip, if he's staying there, if he actually decided to move there, uproot his life. Who knows? But that's what happened. So we'll get into the relationship themes of all the things that turn this into a huge cluster, because I'm sure in early dating, a lot of people deal with this. And I noticed that there were multiple themes in this whole story that usually when you are early on in dating, you pay attention to one problem and you miss all the other stuff going on over here. So first off, what I did wrong, absolutely, I was not ready to date. I had just gotten my ex to move out of my house from a bad relationship. We had been broken up for a year, but he would not move off of my property. And he finally got out about a month and a half before I started seeing this guy. And the relationship prior to him was very traumatic for me. It was emotionally abusive, sometimes physically abusive, and it was a living hell. And I went into dating knowing that I wanted a connection, but also terrified of everybody. Like I was like a scared little bird, like dipping my toe in the water and then going, ooh, I don't know if I like this. So first off, hands down, I needed to heal my crap before I even started trying to date anybody. Because if you are not healed before you date, you project the problems that you have from your last relationship onto your new relationship. Absolutely, I did that to this guy. And because I would keep telling him in our conversations, I would be like, you're so nice, but where's the crap? What's your problem? There's some crap. You're too nice. I don't trust you. And I think if you tell somebody enough that you don't trust them, they're going to say, well, okay, fine. If they don't trust me, let me give them a reason not to trust me. So that was what I did wrong. I've seen a few people, because I've talked about this on my TikTok. A lot of people said love bombing on his side. Yeah, yes and no. I don't feel like I don't feel like we're love bombing. I think the gifts were very thoughtful and sweet, and I love that. And that's one thing that I've learned. So this is the whole point in dating. By the way, the fact that it didn't work out, I am okay with. That is what dating is. You date people to figure out what your preferences are, if you're a match, and if you can work out. And this one, I wanted it to work out, but it did not. Totally fine. But the love bombing, the gifts were very thoughtful. I learned that that's what I like. I learned that one of my love languages is receiving gifts. And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of women who have been in survival mode from bad relationships in the past. We don't know how to receive. And I loved those little thoughtful gifts, my favorite flowers, the peaches from our first date, little things like that. I love that. But the projection of a future early on, to me, that did feel a little much. And some people call that future faking. And so I did say to him, like, I was kind of standoffish about it. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for all of that yet. And I think there are two things here. It could be malicious. Some people love bomb, future fake, whatever, in a malicious way. If you have watched, what is it? X from Hell or Dangerous? There's a documentary on Netflix that talks about exes, and a lot of them love bomb, and they do it in a malicious way to kind of isolate you and make intimacy happen too soon. I don't think this happened here. I think the other type of love bombing is people who genuinely feel it in that moment, and they do it, and they're very intense right up front, right away. And I think that he was one of those people that felt intense feelings. But the problem with that also is that you fall in love with the idea of a person without getting to know them. It takes time to know a person and fall in love with them, because we're all human. We all have flaws. And if you don't get to know the good and the bad of a person and fall in love with both, you fall in love with this idea of how they're going to be. And when you do that right away and they disappoint you, your whole world's going to crumble, and you're not going to know what to do. And you're going to be disappointed in this person when it's not even their fault. They're just being themselves, but you didn't take the time to fall in love with them. You fell in love with the idea of them, and then that idea shatters, and then you kind of go, what the hell? And that's where a lot of relationships fall apart also. So there was that. And then the other thing is trust your gut. I kind of felt like something was going on, and there were a couple of times, like, honestly, with the dating profile and seeing the dating profile, I was like, oh, he's out here still playing. And then the messages getting short with the girl, like I kind of felt like there may have been a girl out there. And by the way, he didn't owe me any explanation. We had only known each other for 2 weeks before he left, and then spoken for 2.5. So we kind of had a whirlwind of whatever the hell that was. But at the end of it, when I saw that there actually was another girl, my head was spinning. I was like, did I just hallucinate what happened with that guy? Am I making this up in my head? Did I feel something that he didn't? Was this real? And here's the science behind why we ruminate when we get ghosted. And this is a great quote also from Matthew Hussey. Matthew Hussey is a dating coach, and he is a relationship expert. If you're not following him, he is great. But he did this post. One of the most painful heartbreaks is not always the person you spent years with. Sometimes it's the person you never really got to have. The truth is, you're grieving more than the person. You're grieving the future you imagined, the hope they presented, and the feeling that they were finally going to be the answer to something you had been looking for your whole life. And there is a specific psychological reason these people are uniquely difficult to get over. We don't truly know them, but it feels like we do. We know enough to have built a story about their value, how rare they are, and how happy they would make us. And knowing just enough about somebody to create a story like this is incredibly dangerous, because when that person rejects us, it makes us feel like the kind of person we've always wanted is someone we are not good enough for. And because we never get to have them, our theory that they are the perfect person never gets disproven, because we don't see all their faults. So now we're officially locked into the cycle of rumination, where we simultaneously cannot stop thinking about them and are unable to shake the feeling that had we been good enough, we could have had them. And oh my God, before I saw that there was another person, I literally was like, oh, I shouldn't have sent him that text about his Facebook dating. Oh, I should have waited until he called me, and I should have said it in a nicer way. I should have communicated better. And yes, I think there was a whole dissipation of communication, and had we communicated clearly and communicated differently, maybe it would have been different, maybe not. Because if he is deciding to uproot and change his life and go to Bali, his head was never still in Alabama anyway. He was ready to go, and it had nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me at all. And I think that's the problem we have when we get rejected or ghosted. We make it all about us, and we make it, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I did something wrong. Oh, if I just would have done this differently. No, there's a whole other story, a whole other thing going on in this guy's world, and we make ourselves the center of their universe when we're just one tiny piece of it. If you think of it, the person when you were dating before they rejected you, were they the whole center of your life? Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with you. And if you've been rejected and you're ruminating, you have rejected people in the past. I would assume so. When you reject those people, 9 times out of 10, you think it's really not about you. It's something going on with me, and I'm just not ready for this. So we ruminate because our brain gets caught in a loop, and our brain is hardwired to solve a puzzle, and we need an answer, and we need to know what the answer is. And we'll ruminate over it and build this story of why this happened to close the loop. And it's this insane game that we play with ourselves when it has nothing to do with us. So if you've been ghosted, first off, I need you to remind yourself this had nothing to do with you at all. This was something going on with that person in their life, in their head. He probably wasn't happy living in Alabama and already wanted to move. He probably already knew this girl before he went to Bali. He probably already had plans to hang out with her while he was there. He was probably talking to both of us at the same time, and we didn't know it. Or whatever's going on in his world. Like whatever's going on in his world, not for me to solve. But the good thing that came out of it for me, and I want, if you have been ghosted, to think about this is before I knew he was going to be ghosting me, the 2.5 weeks that he was out of town, I had this time to myself to really start working on myself and healing from my last relationship. So I started meditating. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. Look him up. He has some great meditations, how to be in a better mood, essentially, and build your own future. I started meditating. I started going back to the gym. Now it's been 6 weeks. I've been consistently going to the gym 3 days a week. I started being a better version of myself. I went no contact with the ex, stopped letting his shit affect me, started rearranging my house, getting rid of stuff that no longer serves me, redecorating, and really coming into myself and being a better version of myself. I restarted this podcast back. I really started doing a lot of things for myself. And this was a promise I made to myself when he stopped talking to me for a couple of days. I said, okay, if he disappears, I'm not going to stop doing all of these great things that I started doing for myself. And I am grateful that whatever happened in that couple of weeks with him made me feel good enough to start working on myself again. So this has sent me on a totally different trajectory. It probably would have taken me longer to get on this trajectory had I not met him. So if you're watching this, guy who ghosted me, thank you for that. There is some good that came out of it. And I think that if we look at dating that way, even if we get rejected, there is some good that comes out of it. And what's the lesson I've learned? Then it makes it better. It did sting, but it sent me in a trajectory that I am very happy with myself. And here's another thing. This may sound crazy, but here's another thing you can do if you are ghosted by somebody for another person, because there is that part where you kind of get jealous and you want to compare yourself and go, well, what was better about them than me, whatever. And it's not that any person is better. It's some people are matches for each other and some people are not. And that's okay. There are preferences that we all have. We have life goals. We have all of these things. We have certain morals, religious beliefs. Do we want kids? Do we not want kids? And dating is finding somebody that is a good match for you, because finding your life partner is one of the most important decisions you will make for the rest of your life, because you're going to be spending the rest of your life with this person. And you want somebody that you can trust to be there on your worst days. If you have a medical emergency, whatever, if your parents pass away, whatever that thing is, whoever you pick as your life partner, you want to be there on your worst days. You also want them to be there on your best days. And you want somebody who's going to be supportive of you and have your back. And it's you and them against the world, versus the last relationship I was in. Even on my best days, he found a way to shit on it. And you don't want to be with somebody like that. So finding the right person is literally the most important decision you'll make in your entire life. So if you've been ghosted by somebody and you're not a match for them, if you think about it that way of we just weren't compatible and that's okay, that will help. And I'll take it one step further, if they ghosted you for another person, instead of thinking, what does that person have that I don't? If you can sit and put yourself in a headspace of, man, they must have found somebody that is their match and they found love, which is what we're all out here looking for. And if you can dig deep, and this is what I did, and find a way in your heart to be happy for that person that they found love. And maybe they did, maybe he didn't, maybe it's not healthy, but maybe he did. Maybe he did meet the love of his life. And maybe this is sending him on the trajectory that he needed to be on. And maybe he will live happily ever after. And that person was a better match for him. If you can sit and think of a way to be happy for that and say, okay, that's great. That saved me the time of dating somebody that wasn't the right match for me. And my perfect match is still out there somewhere, and he will show up. If you can really sit and feel that and feel happy for that person, and then feel happy for your future self and think, I'm going to get that soon too, it will just make you feel a million times better, I promise you, because the right person is out there. And I do believe when you stop trying and you stop looking at the fact that they're not here, and you just start loving yourself and taking care of yourself, they will show up. And that's where I'm at today on my dating journey of I really just want to keep going to the gym, keep doing the podcast, keep going in the trajectory that I'm in, and that person will show up. And I know that they will. I know they're there. And when they get here, I will be the best version of myself for them, and I'll be ready. And that's really all you can do is put yourself in a place of love and be ready for that person when they show up. Anyway, if you've been ghosted, I know it sucks. I know you want to ruminate. I know it's hard. But hopefully some of these tools help. It will be okay. It's okay that they're not a perfect match. And Guy, if you're listening to this, thank you for the inspiration to get my life back on track. I do appreciate it. Does it suck that I've been ghosted? Absolutely. But in a perfect world, because this was the future that I had built in my head. And this is the problem. We get attached to the outcome and we start telling ourselves stories. So before I got ghosted, it was, oh, this guy's great and wonderful. We're going to travel the world together. We're going to go back to Bali together, which is one of my dream places to go. I'm never going to have a problem again. He's going to buy me flowers for the rest of my life. When I'm having a bad day, he's going to give me all these thoughtful gifts. You can do that for yourself. Like, you don't need somebody else to do all the things you love for you. I can buy myself flowers. I've been buying myself flowers. I can bust my ass, make a lot of money, and be able to take myself to Bali without needing another person to take me, or to Africa, or to Australia, or to any other part of the world that I want to go visit. I don't need a man to take me. I can take me. And when you think of it that way, and you can do all these things that you want for yourself, the person that you find is just along for the ride or here to make your day better. That's what it's about. Anyway, thank you for listening to the She Drives Me Crazy podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Just subscribe, follow, keep up with new episodes. If you're listening on the iHeartRadio app, save this podcast to your presets. We'll have more episodes coming soon that are going to be awesome. I've got a surprise guest for you coming in the next week or so that's going to be amazing. And you can follow Instagram, me, Alabama Radio, or the She Drives Me Crazy podcast. We're on all the socials. And thank you for being here.